What is up, harvesters? My name is Ken. Welcome to Hobby Harvest. So today I want to talk to you guys about how to hunt bucks in the morning. Now, out of all of the bucks that I've shot throughout my entire hunting career, the majority of them have been in the morning. Now that's pretty good too, because I've had a lot of quality food sites to hunt over throughout my entire hunting career, which this year will be my 25th year deer hunting. So the reason for that, though, I don't think is that I necessarily have better morning spots than I have afternoon spots to hunt. It's that I think your chance of harvesting a deer in the morning is a longer period of time than in the afternoon. It's that very small window right before it gets dark. So I think just based on the probability of seeing an animal during a time frame is just bigger in the morning than it is in the afternoon. I know I talk on this channel about getting that number one food source, and that is imperative. You do definitely want to do that. It helps those afternoon hunts if you're hunting over that food plot or on a route into that food plot. But for those morning hunts, you can pattern deer for the morning based on where they fed the night before. So that's again why you still need that high quality food source for the afternoons. Now, what do I do when I'm trying to morning hunt? Well, this works for both public and private land, and there's two ways that this works, and I'll get into both of those. One of them has to do with how the deer behave, but another has to do with how humans behave, how other humans on public land behave, or how humans, your neighbors, behave. And I don't care if you have 1,000 acres, deer run a very, very long way when they are spooked. So there is still a chance that your neighbor, even on a 1,000-acre plot of land, could be influencing your hunt, especially during a morning. So I'll get into that right away. So what happens when you hunt public land? I know a lot of you guys are here because you're private landowners, but we all know what to do on public. You get in early and you get in deep, right? And you hope that everybody else who didn't wake up as early as you did push all the deer to you, right? So that is sort of the strategy even on private land. If you get in early, there's a chance that when your neighbors come out to hunt, or just other human activity in general, it might be somebody's just walking their dog down the road and scares a deer back into the woods, and it comes running to you because of that. So you'll get more action the sooner you're in there, because everybody else is getting more active later in the day. And so that doesn't even necessarily mean other deer hunters. It could be just your neighbors using their land. It could be bird hunters or people who come out after it's light out, you know, whatever. You're getting that human push of deer toward you. And like I said, deer can run a real long way. I've seen them run over a half mile after they're spooked. I'm sure they run more than that for you guys in the big open area where you can see them run forever. But you're getting that added benefit of that other human activity helping potentially push deer towards you. So you want to be in your stand, you want to be set up, and you don't want to have been the one that bumped them out of the area. You want to be the one they're getting bumped to. So that's why it pays. Get in early. Now the other thing is, this works on private and public land. You want to hunt bedding areas in the morning. Now, if you know where they're bedding down, if you've patterned them, you have your cams out and whatever, get into those bedding areas early in the morning. The deer won't be back to them yet. They'll have gotten up out of them right before dark. They went to that favorite food source that we talk about, and then they head off and they look for their number 2, their number 3, their number 4. They're just out wandering around with cover of darkness, trying to see if something else popped up in the area that they want to now focus on that instead. But then all of a sudden it gets light out and they're like, oh crap, I'm a real long way from home. And this is the other advantage of hunting that early in the morning is, yeah, that deer maybe only wandered a half mile away, so they get back to that bedding area fairly quickly after it gets light out. But maybe, you know, we hear bucks have that 3-mile home range or whatever. Maybe that buck got 3 miles away and he takes a long time to get back to you. I've shot bucks at 10 o'clock in the morning because they were still just wandering back to that bedding area because they got so far away overnight. So you still have that like late morning chance because of how far away they maybe got overnight. So you'll see consistent movement from sun up all the way into almost noon. And then this brings me into the next thing. Remember those other hunters? What about those ones that got cold? What about those ones that got hungry? What about those ones that got bored? Now they're standing up, they're leaving their stands, they're heading back to the truck, they're heading back into town to get something to eat. they're now spooking deer again. So the longer you sit in the morning, you now have that advantage of humans bumping deer into you yet again. So the longer you sit and the sooner you get out are your best ways to have a shot at a buck in the morning, which I know is like, yeah, the longer you sit, you know, you can't shoot them on the couch, right? The longer you sit, the more likely you are to shoot a deer, but in the morning especially. If you get out early, you sit as long as you can till, like, if you can sit till lunchtime, great. If you want to sit all day, by all means, you can do that too. But if you're trying to maximize your time in the woods to the high probability times of harvesting a deer in the woods, you sit from early till maybe right before lunchtime, maybe about lunchtime again. If those other guys in your area, you know, they're getting out and they're pushing deer towards you because they got hungry before you did. But the other thing you want to be set up on when you're hunting the morning, if you're not necessarily in a bedding area, would be again on a deer trail, on one of those main routes, on one of those travel corridors. You can make those man-made and really influence where the deer are moving on them. And I really do like to think of them as a corridor or as a hallway, right? Like a long, straight corridor. Now, when you make them, don't make them straight. You want them to weave and bend and twist so you can't actually see all the way down them. But think of one in like a human-made building, right? It's not just that main corridor. It's all of the rooms off of it and all the other little side passages off of it that also see traffic. It's just that main path that sees the majority of the traffic. So that's what you're trying to influence. You know, you might have this main deer trail that you built that goes through a bedding area and there's bedding pockets throughout that, but you can hunt on that main path so that, you know, they walk past you and then they go into this room or they go into that room and such, to be able to like put them down that trail where you want them to go that isn't necessarily right on top of you. That's an excellent place for you guys to put a mock scrape, to put a watering hole. It just helps to influence them a little bit more to make sure they step right underneath you as they're coming by before they go into whichever room they're going into as they head down that hallway. So again, great opportunity. Set up between your attractions. If you don't want to set up on the attraction itself, that would be a bedding area in the morning like this. Now, it is a little confusing, or it is a little hard to predict where exactly these deer are going to be coming from in the morning, because they could have went anywhere, and they do go anywhere and everywhere. You may see deer in a field every single afternoon right before dark, but where they go after that is not necessarily the same place every single night. Or they may be on your food plot every single night right before dark, but then they go out and they wander and they just kind of are, like I said, they're looking for that next best thing. The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence for them, and that's what they're looking for at that time. And you don't want them to find it, because if they are focusing on your food plot, that means it is their number one choice right now. And if all of a sudden they find another number one choice that knocks you to number two, now they're going to start bedding next to that and they're going to shift next to that. And that's why I talk about having like a high quality, diverse food plot. So hopefully at any time of the year, something is that number one thing in your food plot. If you have a monoculture, it's very easy for something else to pop up somewhere else and become that number one. Now you're number two. You're not going to see them right before dark anymore. You'll see them at dark then, most likely. And that's, if you guys have deer going nocturnal, a lot of times that's what's happening, or you overhunted that area and you blew them out. But that's just something to understand, is like when these deer are focused on this food, they then go somewhere else at night. And I don't talk about what they do at night in the dark because we're not hunting that time of day, but what they are doing is going out and wandering around. They're so random. They're just kind of going, checking stuff out. You know, they may have in the back of their head that something was attractive 3 months ago and they go, hey, I better go check that out and see how that's doing again, which is how they'll find your food plots, by the way, too. They knew that your food plot was good last year. They'll come check it out again to see how it's doing this year. So they go out, they get to a random spot, and then they come in. So that does make it a little bit hard to figure out where they're going to come in to that bedding area if you know where it is. But again, if you guys can pattern them with your trail cameras, or again, put in those man-made deer trails, that easy path through the woods for them, more times than not, you're going to get them to go through that than to cut their way, weasel their way through some thick brush, especially after they've been out all night. They're tired, they want to get back, they want to lay down, and that's your best bet to get a shot on them in the morning. And one other thing too is you got to make sure that you're hunting the wind correctly, the weather correctly. All of these things also apply all of the time, no matter when you're hunting or where you're hunting. Make sure that access into that stand in that bedding area is still in a nice place, that you're not just painting the woods on your way in, or that you're not painting an area you anticipate the deer to be. So like a good place to access in is through an open area, be it open hardwoods, be it a farm field, be it off a road, whatever. I mean, the closer you get to your attraction or wherever your stand is, obviously the closer you're risking blast and scent all over. But just make sure you're hunting the wind correctly, make sure you're hunting the weather, hunt those high percentage, high quality hunting days, and you'll see success this year. So I hope you guys got some value out of this. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. You know, share this video with your buddies, you know, do whatever, help this channel grow, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.